While they came close in 2015, I will say that an Air Jordan 1 low in the black and royal colorway hasn't looked this good ever. Hey, what's going on, guys? My name's Chris. Welcome back to the official WearTesters.com YouTube channel. Today we got a detailed look and review on these bad boys right here. This is the Air Jordan 1 Low OG 85 in a non-original colorway, believe it or not. The original low tops from the 80s never released in original high top colorways, minus the white and metallic blue and the neutral grays or white grays, whatever the heck you want to call them, natural grays, all that stuff. Either way, there's only two that actually released: metallic blues, the white and gray joints, which we did get retros of recently. But much like the black and red 85s, or the breads, or the bands, or whatever the heck you want to call them, they really went back to the drawing board with these, and they have recreated them to look even more like the original than ever before. So comparing this to the previous 85 lows, I gotta say, man, like, hats off to the team that worked on these, because y'all killed it. Now, real quick, they do come in an original style box. This one's much thinner than the high top box. Obviously, there's less shoe to squeeze in there, so that's one of the reasons why. Funny thing though is that this looks more original than the other ones, just because the original boxes were pretty slender like this. One thing that I did not say in the black and red 85 review, something that I should have, is I just said that this was a normal Jordan 1 box. Nothing really special or fancy about it. I wasn't wrong, but you know, I didn't point out one fact, and that's right here on the back. It just simply says Air Jordan instead of Air Jordan 1, and that is an original feature. So these are different than, say, if you're gonna grab one of these Air Jordan 1 Low OG. Obviously the box is a different size, but if you look at the two, one says 1985 Air Jordan 1 because they're paying homage to the original, whereas the OG 85 joints just simply says Air Jordan, like it did back in 85, because back then they weren't numbered. It was the first one. It was just the Air Jordan. So yeah, very cool little callback, something that a lot of people probably would not notice or maybe would not care about. But for those of you guys that do, it's on there. Now, just like the 85 highs, we actually have the card back on the lows. So you open that bad boy up, it tells you all the tech specs, tells you what every panel is in place for. It explains what the Air Jordan is all about. On the cover, obviously, we got that iconic Jumpman visual and stuff like that, even though they did not use this branding until a few years later, 87, 88 series with the Air Jordan 3. But the original two colorways that have released of the 85 lows, the white and gray and then the white and metallic blues, they actually did not come with the card like they should have. Instead, the sample version, which was the white metallic black with the gray bottom, those actually did release with a card, which is funny because that shoe never actually released to retail until recently. But how do these stack up to the 85 breads? Well, it's pretty much the same thing. They're just chopped down to a low, same materials, same attention to detail. It's fantastic. All the way down to the bottom of the shoe, traction's so good, it'll pop your hip out. This right here is the greatest traction of all time. I will stand on that just because I actually did pop my hip out while testing these. Moving on up, we've got the redesigned and retooled cup sole. This, if you were to compare it to an original from 85, well, I'm not gonna say it's identical. It's as close as they've ever gotten, and that does include previous 85 cuts. So if you're gonna compare this midsole to a different 85 cut release prior to the band or the bread or the black and red, then it's gonna look a little bit different. Again, very small detail, but you know, it's there. Inside that cup sole is a polyurethane wedge. Inside the wedge is an encapsulated heel air sole unit. And again, they depict that on the tech card that they actually come with, which I think is dope. And yes, inside the shoe is a piece of cardboard. It's that original torsion support. So these are stiff, bro. Like, that's fucking awesome. So if you're gonna take just a regular Air Jordan 1 Low OG, you know what I'm saying? But then you take this one, and I really gotta twist it, and it only goes so far. It's just, I think it's cool. It's weird that cardboard can be so restrictive, but it is. And in addition to that, they also have an original style insole right here. This right here is something that I personally don't love. I really love the insoles that they were coming with previously. Let me grab one real quick just so I can show you guys. So So this is the black and white 85. They're just different. This is fully polyurethane. It's a big, thick insole. This one right here that comes with the new 85 cuts. And so far that only includes this black and royal low top as well as the black and red high top from 85. But basically they've got this insole that is an original style insole. I personally never pulled out the insole out of an original pair. They've always been like, I don't know, I just never thought about it. They're always old and used. So while I've checked out damn near everything else on the shoe, I've never decided to like stick my hand in like a 30-plus-year-old sneaker. Anyways, these are supposedly more like the originals than what, you know, the 85 cuts come with. I prefer the 85 cut or the previous 85 cut insoles personally. On my black and reds, I actually did swap out the insole. I took this one out and I put in the full polyurethane. I just feel it's more comfortable. But as far as accuracy goes, this is supposed to be more accurate. Everything from the branding that is on there to the lining itself, where it's kind of that terry cloth, almost towel-like. I think that it's really cool, like especially when you're looking at attention to detail. It's awesome that they've done that. But as far as the material itself goes, it's basically a really thin piece of white foam with another piece of open-celled foam in between that. The foam is very similar to what they actually use in the tongue, and I just don't feel like that's great insole material. But much like the 85 black and reds, they still have the Korean, or now it's Chinese, but like the original, I explained this before, the original first sample pair of the Air Jordan 1. It was a Chicago colorway, and they were manufactured in Korea. And on the bottom of, I don't think it was the insole, I think it was the actual Strobel, but it had Korean text on there, and it said like something about like excellent quality or something like that. And so that's what they've replicated here, but this is now in Chinese because these shoes are not manufactured in Korea. They're manufactured in China. It's just a little Easter egg, if you know, you know type of thing. Now the rest of the shoe, like I said before, is just like the black and red 85 cut. So it's got that very thick but very firm leather. It's performance grade leather. This is stuff that I've been talking about in all of these 85 cut videos because a lot of people like to complain when good material is used because they think that soft material is good material, but that's not the case. Top grain leather is always thicker. It's always a little bit more stubborn as far as breaking in or the break-in process. It usually has a thinner polyurethane coat on top, which these guys do, but because it's a thicker cut, again, it's going to be stiffer. It's treated a little bit differently than those bottom cuts. The way that leather is manufactured is really interesting. They could take one hide and then they soak it in a chemical bath and it will expand the hide to a point to where they can thinly shave multiple layers and get different cuts of leather or different grades of leather. So that top cut is usually the highest quality. Everything underneath that, it gets a little bit less and less, obviously, until you get down to the bottom of the barrel. And then there's different types of leather as well. So when they use stuff like this on shoes again, everybody's like, ah, crap, it's all garbage and shit. And it's just like, no, it's just old school. You gotta actually work a little bit to make them feel good. Now, I will say that because of all of that, they are a little bit uncomfortable to start. I still haven't fully broken in my black and reds. I've been trying, and right here at the base of the lace, like this very bottom panel, the overlay essentially, the 4-foot kind of like strap area. Now that part's pretty uncomfortable on my bunion areas. So yeah, they did revamp the toe just like they did on the black and red highs. So if you're gonna put them side by side, they are just slightly different than previous releases. This one has kind of a squared off tip, whereas this one is more rounded and it just looks smooth, you know what I mean? This looks so much like an 85 Air Jordan 1 that if somebody were to go and pre-vintage these, you know what I mean, like customize them, not just this, but the high tops as well, outside of a couple of minor details, I don't know if anybody would actually be able to tell whether or not it was from 1985 or not. That's how good they are. But anyways, all the leather on here is awesome, minus the swoosh. That's actually synthetic, just like the originals from 85, so that's what they've done. They recreated the nylon tongue. I think that it looks good, it feels good, nothing really to complain about. I love the little tongue tab on the top with the Nike Air branding. They've also gone back and revamped that too, so the way that it's stitched on the patch itself looks like it's from the 80s versus like this modern clean stitching that we have now. And then they've got them laced up just as they would have been coming straight out of the box, with both options just being bottom loaded but not fully laced, you know what I mean? So you can go ahead and take your pick. Inside the collar, they still have the numbers and the sizes as well as the factory that they were made out of, just like they would have back in the 80s. The Wings logo on the rear looks beautiful, so no complaints there. And yeah, I think that this is awesome. I think that this is what the 85 lows should have been from the jump, from that white neutral gray pair to the white and metallic blue to the white and metallic black. I think that they all should have looked just like this. I do sit here and be like, why couldn't y'all just wait a little bit? Just be a little more patient and then come out with the product for real, and be like, yo, look at what we did. Instead, you got like a timeline of like kind of closer, the closest we've gotten. And it's just a little weird because it's all within like what, 1.5 years? So yeah, strange. As far as fit is concerned, they do fit true to size. I would say that these fit more true to size than the high tops, which is very odd to say because when it comes to the OG lows, sometimes that's not the case. But for whatever reason, they beefed up the padding right here in the back and they fit ultra true to size. So I would go true to size for most. Wide footers may want to consider going up half a size. So far, these have only released overseas. Why? Your guess is as good as mine. I've heard that they might be releasing here in the States, but I really don't know. So I had to grab mine off of Goat. Luckily, the low tops don't sell for much. So like you could wait and probably get them for a good deal. I got mine for just barely above retail after all the stupid fees and the shipping and so I'm happy with them. I think that they're awesome. I personally love low tops. So this, as soon as I saw it, I was like,
shut up and take my money.
Before we get into the question of the day, can I just say that the one thing, if I were to nitpick, and I would say that this is a strong nitpick, when they did retool it, while it looks like the original, I just don't love, you see how this one's squared, but then this one like concaved. I don't like the way that that looks. It looks a little weird. Looks like a wedge. So visually, I like the other one, but I would say this is more close to the original, so it's fine, it's fine. I'm just saying, little nitpick. But anyways, what do we got?
What superhero who hasn't been in a movie over the last 30 years would you want to lead in their own movie?
Good question. Does it have to be the hero, like the actual character of the hero, or does it count if their other versions of them have been in movies? You know what I'm saying? You know who I'm about to pick? You should.
Nightwing?
Yeah. I know we've had Robins and stuff, but like we ain't never had a Nightwing. We just had a Dick Grayson. That's what I'd pick. I'd pick Nightwing. I need to see this. I need to see it bad. If you guys could replicate the good books, okay, the good solo books. I'm not talking about the one from the 80s. Those ones are cool and stuff, like Ponytail Nightwing, Disco Suit Nightwing, cool. But like I'm talking about the Night in Bloodhaven, the Chuck Dixon run. Man, those are some of my favorite books. Like I want to see like Nightwing versus Blockbuster, all that stuff. I would love to see it, but will it happen? Probably not. They just announced that there's going to be a Titans movie, which is weird because they announced that there's that Nightwing and Red Hood, but it's going to be like semi-animated. The weirdest part is that this is all canon. Everything that's happening from Creature Commandos onwards is all canon to DC. So whether it's animated, video game, or movie, like it's all connected in the same universe or whatever. So like Nightwing and Red Hood thing, like what is that? Because they don't get along all the time. Like how is that going to work? And what is it, a prequel? Is it going to bounce back and forth between like their origins and because they're very different, but they overlap a little bit? What is that going to be? And then fast forward to like now there's a Titans thing, which that can't be Dick Grayson unless the timeline goes back. Does it? I don't know. Like if it goes back, then yeah, the leader of that team would be Nightwing / Dick Grayson / Robin. But if it's set in modern times, it's going to be Tim and Damian. And then which... I don't know, I'm confused. I just need to see what's gonna happen. But yeah, Nightwing, that's how I go. Sorry, that's a long answer. I know I went off on a nerd tangent. I apologize. But what about you guys? If you could pick one superhero that has never had a live action movie, or TV, just movie?
It just said movie.
Movie, okay.
Because otherwise, we've seen Nightwing in live action. Even if you don't like him.
That don't count.
He still has been on the screen.
That suit was sick though.
So.
But still, so in movies, any hero that has not had any depiction before, who would it be and why? And on top of that, were you able to grab a pair of these 85 lows? If you were, let me know what you think about them. I think that these are fantastic. This is a great product that I just wish people could enjoy and appreciate, because I just find it so weird that like you would do this and be like, but you can't have it. That's insane. But sound off below, let us know. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for spending your time with us. We greatly appreciate it. We'll catch you guys in the next one. So until then, y'all have a good one.